Hello and welcome to Two Crones and a Microphone. I am Linda.
And I am Betty.
And I'm Sally.
And as cultural midwives, our podcast offers guidance and teachings to those seeking wisdom from us as experienced crones. We utilize effective methods to connect with ourselves and our surroundings, and we embrace spirituality as a source of resilience and empowerment. And we're so excited to start our interview with the Crones series by speaking with a longtime dear friend and spiritual sister, Dianne Adel. Now, Path to the Priestess Temple is debut author Dianne Adel's first novel. And Dianne, yes, hold that up, make it a little closer. Oh,
There we go.
lovely. I love that cover. Yay. And Dianne, would you like to just jump in and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. First of all,
Yay.
I'm so happy to be here with the three of you and your listeners. I am a fan of this podcast. I've been listening to it from the beginning.
Yay. Thank
I'm very, very happy to be here. So a little bit about me. I live in Northern California, but I'm originally from New York. I've been out here for about 35 years. But I met you, Linda, in 1987 in New York City.
Amazing.
Right. And Linda was my downstairs neighbor.
Mhm.
And she very soon thereafter introduced me to Oshana, her teacher.
Yes.
And after that, very soon after that, I met Betty and then later Sally. So I'm sitting with some very old dear sisters here. Not that we're old, but long term.
Well put.
We're deliciously old.
Yes, we
Deliciously
are.
wise.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm married. I live with my husband, Frank. Been here in Northern California. We've been married for 19 years. I have a son. He's in his 20s. He's an actor, lives in Chicago. And I was a professional dancer when I met all of you back in the day.
Yes.
Something I did from early on. I did that since I was 5. And then when I moved to California, I officially started my healing bodywork practice. And I built it around what I had gained with all my teachings and what I'd learned from our teacher, Oshana. And I built it from there over the last 30 years, adding somatic experiencing, somatic work, trauma work, energy anatomy, energy work. I have a master's in intuition medicine from the Academy of Intuition Medicine in California here. I spent 3 years as a student there, and then I became an assistant teacher. And then I got involved with horses in my 40s, which was a childhood passion. And it turned out that what I really loved to do with them most was to do healing work with them. And they're extremely sensitive, they're incredibly vibrational, and they command that we be in our bodies when we're around them. And so those were 3 very important factors. And of course, riding them also required that I be home in my body, comfortable, relaxed, particularly in my pelvis and my center, the center of my body, where the communication happens so directly with a horse.
Yeah.
So that led to quite a wonderful path, quite a sacred path, and it moved through to where the book started to develop around that time. I'm also in a band. I sing with my husband, who was a lead singer with Shana Na, and we have a band with some really great musicians, and we sing here around the area here in Northern California.
And what is the band called?
Oh, Glory Days with a Z, Dayz. The Glory Days band. We have so much fun. I wish you all were out here.
I do too. This just sounds like you just rock out all the time.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. So that's a little bit about myself. And as for the book, I've always loved to write, but it's interesting, all these years of developing subtleties with my expression and how I express my essential self. I actually have trouble verbalizing it, but when I've got a page in front of me, all of this essential wisdom seems to come through and the words just flow. And so I really decided to take that on seriously about something like 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of my poems got published, and then I actually wrote a memoir, which I put on the back burner, but that's about my personal healing journey with the horses. And this book just kind of slammed through me about 3 years ago and hit the ground running. And I just kind of moved out of the way and let it go. And here we are. So that's sort of how the book came about. And but at the root of everything I do is really, I would say, all those years ago, with all of you, taking what I felt was a vow to be always in connection with the divine feminine and the sacred divine.
Yes.
And everything I say, everything I do, everything I
Yes.
touch, everything I come into communication with.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really is at the root of this book.
Oh, that's so beautifully put. And I love the way you tied our history, herstory together
Yeah.
with the way that you expressed all this in the book. I want to say, as someone who's read the book several times,
Hmm.
it is such a richly embedded story. It has such wisdom and such, I think, for me, points of awakening that are embedded within the book itself, within the storyline, within the characters that gave me aha moments. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Linda. It's from my heart and soul.
I
Thank
know.
you. Yeah.
Well, I think it's beautifully written. And the visualization, when I read a book, I'm in the book, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
And you took me on the best journey. It was just awesome. I don't even have enough words to explain it. Our listeners out there, you have got to get this book. It's on Amazon. I guarantee you will see parts of yourself in this book.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are so rich.
Mhm.
My favorite character,
Mhm.
of course, was Scotty.
Right.
Oh, what an amazing character she was.
Oh, yeah.
She fits in, but she doesn't fit in,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You've got the other two characters.
Yeah.
Well, you have a couple of different people in there, of course, but in present day characters, those other two are just totally different from her.
Yeah.
And even Anya,
Yeah.
you don't see this side of her so much.
Yeah.
And yet, I believe Scotty is a part of all of us.
Oh, she is.
All of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Badass rock queen. I
Oh,
love her.
yeah. Yeah. And who she lives her own life.
She
Oh,
does.
yeah.
She does not mince words, and she just goes for it. It's what I call jumping off the cliff.
Mm.
She
Because
took
there are
me off
times,
the cliff.
yeah, I'm sure she did.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say what you were
No,
gonna
go
say.
ahead, Diane, really.
Just that I was teasing before when we were just chatting that I never knew what she was going to say or do writing this. And for the listeners, there are 4 main characters, and one of them is a priestess from 2000 BC, and she's the protagonist. She's the first person. She speaks in the first person, and for me, she was the voice of my body and my body's wisdom. Like,
Hmm.
how could I tangibly express without making it a form that people know and then would like project stuff onto? So in a certain way, she's an archetype,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
It would be
Yeah.
like she would be the body's wisdom talking, and the memory
Yes.
of what was in
Yes.
patriarchal society, right? So she was easy because
Yeah.
she just had flow, she had conflict, she didn't want to be in a prophecy that she ended up being in.
Well, I
But
have a
Scotty,
question
oh
about
yeah,
Anya. Do you
yeah,
mind? And then
no,
let's leap to Scotty, please.
yeah.
Anya's blind.
Yeah.
And was that a deliberate choice on your part?
No, that happened when 2 of the modern characters who had shared a dream of her were discussing her in a restaurant, and
Oh.
I wrote, "She's blind." One of them said, and I went, "Oh my, what?" So I thought that's perfect because
Yes.
for my own personal inner vision, it's best when my eyes are closed.
Yes.
My
Yes.
clairvoyance, my capacity to see the unseen or feel it and then put something to it is best when I'm not using the eyes that have stories already packed into the eyeballs.
Yes.
Um, and I also know from working with animals and from working with attuned people in healing
Mm.
situations that we can share vision, we can share a picture.
Mm-hmm.
And so that
Mm-hmm.
made a lot of sense to me as to how Anya would then relay her memories and her experiences over time
I love that.
to get it to our modern time.
Yes. That makes so much sense. Thank you. That was a beautiful explanation. And it explains some of the story arc of the book too.
Right. And it's what carried me then after I realized that's where we were going to go with that. So
Thank you. Thank you. Now to Scotty.
Scotty. So so she a friend was teasing me that she's my unhooked self, you know. And she says what she wants. She's got a potty mouth. She's but also in a certain way she embodies um sexual freedom
Mm,
and like a full-on experience of herself with no apology. And,
yes.
and I thought that was an interesting way she came in. So
I like that.
And
No
there,
apology.
yeah, and there are some just amazing and interesting aspects to her character that come out in the book. And she has her own challenges, right?
definitely
In
does.
terms of what she has to do to overcome things to really fully become herself.
Yes.
So I
Right.
thought that was just beautifully written.
Thank you, Sally. That's lovely. Each of them have obstacles to this part
Yes.
of ourselves,
Yes.
as we all do.
Yes.
They're us. Those three modern women are us. And I can relate to that. I can relate to my own obstacles and my own healing process that I had to move through, digest, metabolize, and embrace, and then embody what it was blocking, which is the true essence of our sacred selves. So
Mm,
each of them had to come to some understanding of what that was in terms of being a revered woman in modern world.
well said.
Yeah, that's true. Could you just fill us in a little bit on the other two characters
Of
also?
course. So so there were three modern women, and they all share a dream of this priestess. Scotty and Abigail don't know each other, and they meet through synchronicity. And Abigail is an OBGYN. And for her, her essential qualities come through only when she's delivering babies or when she's out
Mm,
of the way and her hands
mm,
know things.
yeah.
And she has a niece named Talia who's in her 20s, and I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed that our young people are coming in with a lot of depth in the world. They're coming in, and I felt like Talia really had already had ties to this aspect, but she didn't feel like she belonged in this world. And so that was
Mm,
a challenge. So she was a little bit harder for me to write, not only because she was young, but because she already knew all this stuff in a certain way,
mm,
right?
mm.
I do feel like some of our young people are wise.
Yeah.
Notice that. So
Yeah.
those are the three modern women. And there's more folks in the book.
Well,
Or
you connected the ancient priestess,
Yeah.
Anya, right? With the present day women.
Mhm.
And I really love the way you did that. You know, you did past, present. I don't think that's the way you titled it in the book. Then and now, maybe.
Then and now, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it was really nice to see that connection, because, whether or not you believe in reincarnation, matter never dies. So our cell doesn't really die. And I think it just moves us forward, right?
Right.
And there we were. At one time we had a matriarchal society, which
Right.
is beautifully put in the book. And
Yes.
now we're in a patriarchal society, which we're pushing back on.
Mhm.
We are pushing back on that.
Mhm.
So hopefully when people read the book, male and female, they'll get that. They'll see that,
Yeah,
So,
that was my hope, that and there have been some really awesome reviews and feedback from men as well as women. So I'm really happy about that. And I will say, I think this book came so quickly for me, and the other books do not seem to come as quickly, because of the state the world is in right now and the patriarchal influences, and yet um, just that,
Mhm.
for now.
Yeah,
well put.
I love the way your work weaves together both the ancient matriarchy along with current patriarchy, but holds out such hope of development
Yeah.
for a wise combined future. It's just, it's so beautiful where you landed and where you point us, in the work itself. I really love so much about what you did there and the possibilities it holds out for us to embody deep intuition, wisdom, caring, all the good stuff.
Yes. No apologies for our power. No apologies for what
Mhm.
we are, the wisdom that we hold, and the healing of our woman wound, our collective woman wound.
Exactly.
which-
Exactly. That's been around for over 5,000 years because of the sort of ascent of the patriarchy. I'd like to see us reach a point of balance where everyone is accepted fully for who they are and what they are.
Yes.
I
May it
agree.
be
And
so.
I know each one of you
Yeah.
for many years now, and I've watched us develop and walk our own path to
Yes.
get to where we are today.
Yes.
It was for all of us, it was a long, hard path. There were no, pass go, no such thing. You just kept slogging along. And I always say that Oceana was probably, if not absolutely, the main influence in my life to help me open up my eyes and see what was actually around me, what was going on, and help me become who I was. And I think I see parts of Ocean in this book, actually,
Yes.
and her teachings. And I think that's the driving force also with us doing the podcast, doing the interviews, so that we can share this with other people, men and women. It's
Yeah.
it's a long, hard path. You need to develop your tools, you need to do your work. And guess what? We're still doing it. It's never over.
I was going to say, oh, we're still up to that. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Well, and I love in the book, really, that's what Anya's doing in the book. She's literally coming
Yes.
from the past
Mhm.
to take these three women, excuse me, fully into who they are and who they can be, and to actualize all aspects of themselves.
Yes.
So she literally reaches out from the past blindly, supposedly, and totally flips around the lives of these three women so that they can become more fully who they're meant to be. And that's amazing.
Sally, thank you so much. It was an honor to kind of almost be a witness to this story. And I agree with you, Betty, that it's been the work since the early 80s, and it will continue to be. And your podcast I mean, put some microphones in front of some Crones and we got some stuff to tell you. Right? Like definitely at a place where it's just perfect because the riches are here and there's no, I want to share it. I want to share it.
Yeah. That's so well put. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Well, should I talk about the back of the book? So we've really
Sure.
touched a
Sure.
little bit about what the book is about, but maybe I should read this. What do you guys think?
Sure, go
Yes.
ahead.
All right. So this is on the back of the book, and it describes what the story is. The lives of three modern-day women collide when Anya of Mahet, a blind priestess living in the matriarchal times of 2000 BC Malta, foretells a time when women will be under the dominion of men. To fulfill her prophecy and build a bridge through time, Anya sends her visions forward thousands of years. Scotty D. Jones, an aging rock star in denial about the downward spiral of her life, can't escape Anya's haunting presence. A successful doctor, Abigail DiGiorno, and her niece, Talia, are impacted with the same shared visions. Through unexpected synchronicity, the women travel to Malta following the clues of Anya's hope to restore the reverence of the sacred priestesses of ancient times. With vivid, imperfect characters and mesmerizing scenes that cross centuries, Path to the Priestess Temple is a powerfully told story of the wise and sensuous gifts all women inherently possess, inspiring us to ponder what it is to be human in a rapidly changing world.
Beautifully put. And I just want to say something obvious for anyone who just heard that and immediately wants to go purchase the book. The name is Path to the Priestess Temple by Dianne, Dianne, Adel, Adel. It's such a wonderfully rendered tale.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
And it's a great book to give as gifts to people.
Yes,
because
it
they
is.
will love it and they will tell you, oh my goodness, that book was amazing.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Truly
Yes.
life-changing. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Thank you, you guys. Yeah, Amazon sells it. I think it's on it's also on Barnes and Noble, and the ebook is also available at your the usual place. But Amazon is selling it, so that's a good way to start.
That's great. Now, we talked about several things, but how'd you come up with the idea?
Well, I think we really did sort of,
Yeah.
go to those places of sparks. Actualizing it came when a friend, a horse woman friend, and she's also an author. We were at an event that had nothing to do with writing or books, which was delightful. And we were standing in a driveway and we were both on the way somewhere else and we had our hands full of stuff. And she said, "Oh, what is your new book going to be about?" And I went, "It's going to be about the memory of the temple that's in my body." Like it just and I pointed to my belly center, the center of my body, and I said, "It's going to be about this memory here."
Wow. I love that.
And she said, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea." And we just went our separate ways.
I really love that.
But landed. And then the second thing to happen was I was asleep in the night and I heard and felt the heat of my wood stove downstairs. The bedroom is upstairs and the wood stove was downstairs, and it woke me up. And we have some understanding of the essential qualities of fire. And it was powerful, but I went back to sleep. And when I woke up, I wrote the invocation, which I'd like to read to you guys.
Lovely. We would love to hear that next.
All right. Okay, so this is in Anya's voice, and this would be the very first thing that the readers would see. And because it hasn't changed much since I wrote it when I woke up that morning, I believe it's a message and a gift and
Mm.
an invitation for everyone to travel with us.
Mm.
In the depths of every woman rests a cave of thunder, so potent and pure, it lives through all time. This sacred temple of the womb is the first story, alive with skin and silk, filled and pouring into the blood of our sisters of all shapes, all colors, all sizes, all ages, all nations. Together we step on the steep rock of the mountain. Together we hold a foot on the pulsing neck of the weak-minded man when he mumbles his arrogance into the dirt. Together we burn the lies of us, told through the centuries. The truth of our power needs no proof. The way of our strength, no cause to doubt. Our glory belongs to the hush of our veiled movement between worlds. See what I know through the body of the goddess, so you will forever remember this holy temple is you. Anya, High Priestess of the Temple of the Arch, Malta, 2000 BC.
Oh, thank you. What a
stunning
invocation.
Exquisite.
That bears a moment of silence in
It does.
appreciation.
It
Thank you.
does.
Thank you.
And you know, our best ideas seem to come in that place right in between.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, we first wake up and when we first go to sleep, these ideas just come forth.
Yeah. The liminal moments.
Mm-hmm. So it's a blessing that you wrote it down because
Yes.
if you had left it up to my memory, it wouldn't have happened.
I totally agree.
I know.
Agree with you more. I have been known to run out of bed if I choose paper because it's not next to the bed
Yeah.
there. Oh, that's so funny, Betty. It's so true.
Well, Dianne, this brings up a beautiful question that you posed at the
Mm.
beginning, which
Mm.
is how do we know our bodies as
Mm.
sacred?
Mm.
And maybe we want to open that up for a little discussion.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, I would really like to invite all of you to contribute to that question. It's so I think of that as a living question,
Yes,
static
absolutely.
question.
Yes.
It definitely doesn't have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's not like you
Mm-mm.
arrive somewhere and suddenly you got it like a math problem, right?
I love it.
I
Yeah.
usually don't get those anyway, so it's pretty
Yeah.
hopeless. For me, you know, I could go on and on about this topic for hours. But as long as we have a way to access a connection to our bodies,
Mhm.
that's bottom line.
Mhm.
And I think that's really different for everybody.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I know you spend a lot of time on this podcast helping people
Yes.
find ways to stay grounded in the body.
Yes. It's
So,
one of our core missions is to help us get back in touch with what we walk around in, you know, because it is sacred.
Right. And there are so many different tools for that. For me, personally, if I have access to what we call the dantian or the center or the hara, which is
Mhm.
basically the belly center, which is
Yes.
physically 2 or 3 finger widths below the belly button and 2 or 3 finger widths back, which
Mhm.
happens to correlate with the womb center. But it's, you know, it's the center of all human bodies.
Yeah.
If I have access to that, I have access to my being connected to my own self and not out there somewhere is
Yes.
one way to put it.
Yeah.
And then how I relate to it, how I relate to myself as a body moving, it seems to be another really important. So, but so much of this is very individual and very personal. So I'd be curious to hear
Yeah.
what you guys have to say.
Well, one of the things that I've started doing, and like you, when I've taught over the last goddess classes, various things over the last like 7 to 8 years, one of the core principles has always been about how do we sink into our body wisdom? How do we access our body wisdom? How do we acknowledge our bodies in wise and wonderful and caring ways? And just last Saturday, I taught a class, and there I asked people as a way in to ask your body in this exact moment, what do you want and need from me in this exact moment? As a way to begin to anchor our care and responsibility for our human vehicle, our lovely, lovely earthen body that we walk around in, that we move in, that we breathe in, that we participate in the world with. So that inquiry, that question to ask our body, instead of telling our body what we want done, right? To ask, inquire of our body, what is it you want to need from me in this exact moment? And sometimes the answer for me is, oh, go out in the sunshine. Sometimes the answer is, let's just sit and breathe for a moment. Sometimes the answer is, wow, I really need to ground right now, or oh boy, am I hungry and I didn't even realize it. There are so many answers that could occur with that question, and there could be a lot more too. But that's one way in that I'm starting to advocate.
I really like that, Linda. Thank you. Because it sets up for a constant dialogue
Yeah.
and connection between, maybe what we might be bypassing or missing or not paying attention to. And it brings what is needed up in the front, right here where we're connected to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think for me, because I was a professional dancer and my own history, I was taught to bypass a lot of
Oh,
the
yeah.
needs of my body. If it
Yep.
was in pain or if it wasn't safe or if it was, hurting. And it took me a while to even tune in and say, oh, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Even that sentence took a while to even hear,
Yes.
the messages coming forward, and bypassing the body was considered, at least in that profession, important,
Yeah.
probably for a lot of athletes.
Sure. I think that's pretty common across the board for any athletic pursuit. Yeah.
I think it's true also for nursing.
Ah,
How many times, and Sally, you can relate to this, I'm sure. You're on the unit doing what you do. You
Yeah.
may have to go to the bathroom. You can't go. In my case, if a patient's coding, I can't say, "Oh, wait 1 minute. I just have to go pee. If you don't mind." It was just that kind of work that I did, and sometimes hours would go by where
Yes.
I didn't eat. I didn't go to the bathroom. I didn't do anything but take care of the patient that I had to take care of, the patients. So I also learned to ignore the signals my body was trying to send to me. I think for me, though, the first step for me was to acknowledge my body and learn to love my body.
Mm.
I was always, you know, too heavy. I didn't like my hair. I didn't like the way I looked. It took me a long time to realize that, you know what? This is it. This is who you are. Be grateful you have a body that functions so well.
Yes.
And once I got to that point of loving my body, which took a while, I was really able to connect with it and dialogue with it, but not until I realized that it didn't matter if I was 20 pounds overweight or 20 pounds underweight, which actually there was a time when that was true. You know, if I didn't have big fluffy hair, remember the hair of the 80s?
Yes, actually.
You know, if I didn't have the right makeup on, oh well, you know. So once I got past that, it was really much easier for me to dialogue with my body and sit and say, oh, okay, that's what you're trying to tell me, you know. So how about you, Sally?
I can certainly relate to what all of you have said.
Mm.
I think for myself, the way that I most clearly get connected is when I go outside and I actually walk on the earth and really pull into my body and ground that into the earth. And right then it allows me to open up not just my heart center, but you know, that internal flame that we all have within ourselves to
Yes.
fill and connect,
Mhm.
not just with myself, but also with everything around me. But yes, being a nurse, that was challenging, I have to say. I could go 12 hours without drinking or eating and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
even notice because there was no time.
Right.
Couldn't leave.
Right.
No.
That was similar for me in corporate life too, just powering through because that was what was seemed to be needed in that moment, you know. And good that we have those coping mechanisms, but I don't want those to be my automatic coping response. That's the difference.
And while I think some of that is changing in the world right now, I don't think it's changing as much as it needs to change.
I agree.
Yeah.
We still have a long way to go, you know, letting people off the hook of denying themselves, our
Mhm.
bodies' messages in order to put that into our work world. I think we still have a long way to go.
I do too. And I think in large part, that's a sort of driven patriarchal influence instead of actually being able to listen and honor what is needed. Now, we all have requirements and we all have responsibilities that have to be tended to. There's no question, but I'd like to see that get unhooked more too, to be able to have empathy for ourselves and our bodies.
Mhm.
Well said.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. And also, you know, for me, the divine feminine aspect, and this, of course, would be for our woman wound or our collective power as women. I'm not excluding men in this, but
Right.
there's a lot of story in ourselves about objectifying our own bodies, and
Yes.
a lot of stories that we're carrying through our DNA, and that's okay. We need to make room for that because we need to heal it, right? So we need to, which for me meant really diving in and seeing what do I really believe about myself as a body, as a woman's body, you know, and
Mm.
um, and then over the years coming to understand that essential my divine nature wants this body to experience life through my felt sense, through my eyes, through my tastes, through
Yes.
the proprioceptive capacity of this instrument. It's not going to live a long time. It doesn't matter, as you were saying, Betty, what shape it is, what size it is.
Mm-mm.
We are privileged that we're not in a situation where we have to think about dying every day or
Yeah.
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah.
Feel very, very, very grateful for that every day. But if I remember that, then these hands, you know, aren't mine, right? In a certain way, but they're also not, this isn't an object either that I'm living in. So
Yeah.
blending that wisdom with experiencing everything in the world, whether it be our hard past or whatever we're working through, you know, that does something to me to remember the sacredness of it. So I'm thinking of two things I've heard teachers in my past say: whatever's in the way is the way, would be one.
Mm.
And then the other is, which I've always loved this, the soul isn't in the body is in the soul. Right?
Oh,
Oh,
Soul is what's, you know,
yeah.
fluid, you know.
Yeah. I love that. That really turns it on its head in the best way.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
remembering that is really hard when we have like
Oh.
I like Tuesday I had the absolute worst day because I was just on all these devices and driving and I was like not there. You know. So it comes and it goes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As long as we can come back to it, I think is
Right.
Well, we so appreciate you coming here, speaking with us, allowing us to have this really rich, fertile dialogue, because this is just wonderful. And for anyone on the fence, buy this book. It will change your life. This is what I have to say about it. And so, Dianne, I wonder, would you give us a few particulars about where we can find you and your influence and where people might purchase Path to the Priestess Temple?
Yes, thank you, Linda. So you can buy the book, as I was saying, on Amazon, ebook and paperback. And then you can find me on my social media platforms, which I'm getting better at, I can say.
Mhm.
I'm at Dianne, first name Adel, Adel, last name. So Dianne Adel on Facebook. And then my Instagram is Dianne Adel with the number 2. And that's probably, oh, I have a website too, www.dianneadel.com. And again, it's Dianneadel. So it'd be great to hear from your readers and I mean your listeners, sorry. And thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, this has been so rich and
It
wonderful.
has. It has.
And I
It's
want
like
to
a-
jump. Oh,
Yeah,
go
go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, it's just like sitting around the table in my
I
dining room,
know,
all
I know.
chatting away, you
This
know,
is
it's good.
great. This is great.
Mhm.
And I had just wanted to add on, if you read Dianne's book, don't forget to go on Amazon or wherever it is and give your feedback.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
please.
Thank
Very
you.
important.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sally. Yes, reviews, it turns out, are very important to spread this word, and I'm reliant on my readers to review the book. It's super easy to do. You just go on to the Amazon page, the Path to the Priestess Temple, Dianne Adel page, and then there's a link, I think it's on the left, to write your own review. And that would be, I would be most grateful for you guys, your readers and listeners, to do that. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you for adding that in. And we want to be sure that you know where to find us at Two Crones and a Microphone as well. And one place that we're activating now is twocronesandamicrophone.com, which is our website. We're very excited. We want to invite you to come learn more about us, our backgrounds, people that we interview, like the divine Miss Dianne Adel. And we will have blog posts. And also we're going to be announcing various events that we're starting to sponsor on our website as well. So we're super excited to have that. And also our new YouTube channel, Two Crones and a Microphone, is up and running. And so we're very excited about that. Betty, do you want to let
Remember to
people
look
know?
for the 2 owls on Two Crones and a Microphone on the
Thank you.
YouTube channel. Look for those owls. If you're not looking at owls, it's not us. There's
Yeah,
a lot of crones out there. So
thank you for that. And would you mind reminding our listeners where they can find us on social media?
you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn. Pretty soon the YouTube channel that's going up.
Yep.
And that's about it. Yeah. Yeah. And please interact with us. It really helps. That actually, I see that starting up.
I do too.
So people are letting us know what they think of the podcast, and they're letting us know what they would like to hear about. So,
And if you connect with us around Dianne and her book, we will certainly pass the feedback that you might post for us with Dianne. So if you
yes.
don't know how to directly, you forget what she's saying about how to get in touch with her, we will be communicating with her and gladly share anything you might want to put on as a response to our blog or something that you see and put on Instagram.
That's exactly right. Thanks, Sally. You know, because we are a network of like-minded souls here, and we want to support each other in our work.
Yeah.
Well, this is excellent. Well, amazingly enough, we're at the end of this wonderful podcast. We appreciate you tuning in, and we're going to ask that you kindly spread the word and feel free to reach out to us with questions on this or any other subject. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions. And Betty, what do you usually have to say at the end?
I usually say at the end that I'd like you all to remember that the reason well, there are many reasons why we're doing this, but our primary reason these days is to help you navigate the muddy waters of our time.
Thank you. And I have something else to add. Go outside, ground, and seek out a glimmer. And just because we talked about it, have a dialogue with your body. What does your body want and need in this moment?
And I just want to add on our wish that you will walk in beauty. Kitty stay. All is made beautiful.
Di, is there anything else you'd like to add as we close?
No, just thank you all. This is lovely sitting with you.
We feel the
Agreed.
same.